So this is the Liverpool team that I think will start the game against, you guessed it, Bologna in the Champions League. At home at Anfield, Liverpool's first home game in the Champions League this season after a 3-1 away win against AC Milan. More on that in just a second. This Bologna side, very different of course to last season. They lost Thiago Motta to Juve, still a very beautiful city. Look at that, that's gorgeous. That looks almost AI generated, how gorgeous that is. But Thiago Motta, I'm not going to say gorgeous, but I'm going to say great football. And I'm going to say that's the football that got them into the Champions League. And so they come to Anfield with quite a different identity, and probably an identity which is closer to just Italian football than the one that Thiago Motta originally had implemented. So let's talk a little bit about Italian football, where it's at the moment. There is a lot of strength in that Italian league. AC Milan, some of that strength. Juve, some of that strength. Napoli, obviously some of that strength. Inter, obviously some of that strength. There are multiple different reasons why tactically the Serie A as a league is so interesting and rich to watch. But there are also differences as to physicality between the two leagues, as to application, fitness between those two leagues. And I think that is probably where the Premier League pulls away from a league like Serie A. Doesn't mean they can't level the playing field in some fashion. Doesn't mean that they can't, score a goal, land a punch, do something which is going to worry the opposition. But if you want to take a look at these two sides, pre-match you said that's a pretty strong AC Milan team. Liverpool were at least one, maybe two levels ahead of AC Milan. Their pressing caught them out multiple times, and whilst I know that Mannion, good goalkeeper, they passed the press a couple of times. Tactically, they made that observation. As they tired, as Liverpool managed to work out what their rhythms were, where the ball was going to go, which they'd been briefed by Slot, the game slowly played out. And as much as they were 1-0 up, being 3-1 down, it could have been 5-1 down at any one point. Konate and Virgil van Dijk just took hold of that back line, and no one really got through after that. There wasn't really that much worry about AC Milan. And even though it was big names, I think there was more about the big names and the excitement of San Siro than it was anything else. But here's the interesting thing about predicting this game, right? If we're looking at this, by the way, Kostas Tsimikas started that in that game. Take a look at this. Kostas Tsimikas also starting in this game. Kostas was the reason that AC Milan scored in that game. He just was. And I think you can look similarly at this and where Liverpool are going to rotate overall, right? Like Cody Gakpo here scored a couple of goals in this game. Could you say that if Liverpool have got they've only got two more games until the international break, would it make sense for Liverpool to rotate a Diogo Jota, possibly even Luis Diaz, bring in Nunez and possibly Cody Gakpo as well? I think you probably see Salah start in this because his Champions League record is just so excellent. And the disappointing factor is, of course, Robbo and Federico Chiesa didn't train today with Liverpool. So that's the disappointing aspect. Of course, we have to be careful of Italian sides. The last time that Liverpool welcomed an Italian side to Anfield, we lost to them. They're a good team. This is a good side in Atalanta, and they drew 1-1 on the weekend against this Bologna team. Not exactly the same application. You say it's a different team, but you get my point. Like, there is still quality within that league, and believe me, if there's one thing to look at the recent record of Bologna, it's this. The draws that they've gotten, the frustration that they've caused against oppositions that worries me a little bit. They have a front line, and I'll get into that in just a second, which has the ability to conjure something out of nothing, and I'll show you why in a second. They did that against Atalanta on the weekend. It was a late 1-0 draw. They were 1-0 up, and Atalanta had to claw it back. Again, against Monza, they conjured something up against them. They definitely were the more aggressive side against Dynamo Shakhtar Donetsk, and they were, of course, the more aggressive side against Como as well. Como not being a particularly good side in Serie A right now. And I can show you why in this front line there is danger. It's Ndoye over here, and it's Castro here. Don't get me wrong, I think Orsolini is a good player, but I just want to focus on these two for just a second. First of all, Santiago Castro is a weird build of player. I'll be interested to see, considering this standard and quality of opposition so far, whether he adds up against Konate, Virgil van Dijk. They will dwarf him quite significantly, and he will have these moments. I think if they can slip in between the midfield against Liverpool like that, the areas where other teams have had the joy with those 2 goals in the Premier League and obviously the 1 goal in the Champions League so far, where either they can slip it in between the centre-back and the full-back, which is where most teams attack Liverpool, or if they can get it in between the two in midfield, so McAllister and Gravenberch, or Endo and Gravenberch, or whoever it is that combination, and the other players, Castro will get joy there, all right? He's got that kind of like rasping shot on him. So do expect some speculative shots at Anfield, which will I think, worry the Anfield crowd a little on the night. They'll do that early on to try and snatch a goal. Orsolini and Doi, they'll both be looking to supply Castro, and Castro is a tricky little player. There are at least a couple of goals that I saw from him where he doesn't even snatch at it. He just decides, right, I'm taking that shot and that's going exactly there. I can't quite tell in the Serie A if it is down to the quality of the goalkeeper or if it's down to the quality of the shot as to whether it went in or not and whether it would go in against Alisson. I guess there is always a surprise factor. There's always a David versus Goliath type moment, and this would be very much like that, right? Similarly, in the, which game was this? Castro came off in this one, and Doi was much more of the focus. He's a really tricky winger who will look to play and supply Castro with his weird little runs. That'll be where they go inside and then cut the ball back out wide to try to separate Liverpool's two centre-backs, because it's what they need to do. And then, of course, they'll also try on set pieces. They've got the kind of wily, difficult to mark in set piece type players, and it's also where they know they're going to get a lot of joy and be able to level the playing field. They've done it a couple of times this season in Serie A, expect them to do it here. Here they sit in Serie A, obviously quite significantly below the top four at the moment, so questioning whether they're Champions League level is certainly not disrespectful. I definitely say that they are, they're facing a Pot A team and they aren't a Pot A side. I'm not saying that therefore Liverpool should be confident. I think we don't see a huge amount of top class quality in any of the teams that they've faced so far this season. Ipswich, I think there's obviously top class quality in there, same with Brentford, same with United. We've not seen it at kind of full flight yet. I would say there are a few players in here who are more, how can I put it? They deserve to be at the very top level, but they're very much found their level here, and they're very content in that area. They're playing up rather than sitting at that level and playing down or thinking, well, I'm at the very top of my career here. This is a team who are looking to land a rogue punch on Liverpool. Okay, the only thing I would change now about this team is obviously the Robertson inclusion. I literally only heard the Tsimikas news right before I started recording this video, so Tsimikas in for Robertson, fair enough. Outside of that, I don't think it's unreasonable to see Liverpool rotate elsewhere. I'd be interested to see what we do with Endo, whether someone like Endo is given a bit of a mission on the night to just plug up that central area and essentially focus on getting the ball to Gravenberch and Jones and those guys carrying it downfield. Jones, of course, coming in for Szoboszlai and taking that more runner-type role. And then obviously up front, because Jota hasn't played, I think you put Nunez. I'd be interested to know whether someone like Cody Gakpo could come into this area and play a centre-forward type role. But I think if you look at how the centre-backs for Bologna have played, you definitely say there's some susceptibility to a ball over the top, out wide, where they pull the centre-backs wide, cut it back in, and Liverpool might get some joy there. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. Diaz, of course, and Salah will also be looking for that kind of joy, and then you might see Jones on the inside of either of those players in this type of an area looking to pull up a shot because, of course, opposition have got some joy in those areas before. The only thing I'd say is, if we're not, Chiesa hasn't trained with the team either, so we're not going to see Chiesa in that area. We're not going to see Jota here because he hasn't trained, and we're probably going to see Tsimikas start at left back. That means that Chiesa's not going to be playing, so you'll probably see Tsimikas coming into this area. That pushes Diaz a little bit wider and probably a little bit further forward, more into this area. Let me get rid of all these lines. He'll be more like here, and that probably pushes Nunez over a little bit, and it probably means that Salah is more like here, meaning that Jones is more like there, and you get back to that 4-4-2, but Diaz plays as more like a striker than anything else. That gives Trent Alexander-Arnold acres of space to wander into and lace that ball across the field there. And of course, I think that it also means that you see Endo sitting a little bit deeper and Gravenberch being a big part of the press, winning the ball back high up the field, pinning them back. And I genuinely think I can predict Jones or Gravenberch will score a goal from the edge of the box in this game. There will be a shot from the edge of the box. It'll be this: score from the edge of the box, or the goalkeeper has to parry a shot from the edge of the box and Liverpool score a rebound on that. Anfield goes crazy, they're 1-0 up. If we draw them out of 1-0 up, I think they're looking for a shot from the heavens. And genuinely, I think the danger in this game is more that we're playing an FA Cup style game than a Champions League style game, where it's like, well, we're only going to get this opportunity once because we're not going to get the other leg. Let's just go and try and land the best blow as we can on them, worry Anfield. Let's hope that Anfield slightly overawes them. And of course, I think with it being the second to last game before the international break, we're going to see Liverpool looking to push as hard as they can going into this section. So I think Liverpool are going to try and go out there and overwhelm them. I just worry, as Klopp said, there's nothing worse than an Italian team needing a 0-0 draw. It's true. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you see coming in this game? Do you agree with my rotations? Like I said, Tsimikas, Jones, Nunez, possibly Gakpo. I prefer Gakpo off the left, so I would probably see Nunez there and then bring in Gakpo later. We'll see. Possibly Endo. Do you think that makes sense? I personally do. I wonder if you... Is there a chance you see like a Tyler Morton type in this game? We've seen Trainioni and Tyler Morton training with the team today. Possibly. Is that like a Noni in there? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll chat to you guys live tomorrow night, but there will be more videos on the channel in the meantime. I'll see you guys later. Much love. Bye.